I'm the Rifter, and this is a quick photography tutorial on how to take photos of the moon. I'm sure a lot of you have purchased an expensive camera and you just expect it to know what you're trying to take a picture of. Well, unfortunately, that's not how real life works. Your camera is all about balance and reciprocity. If you've watched my other YouTube tutorials on photography, you'll kind of get the gist of that. But cameras work off of reciprocity, and whenever you point a camera at something and you have it on full auto, it's always going to try to balance your scene. So if you've got black and white, it's going to try and get that as close as possible to a grayish tone. At least that's what your camera's processor is going to try to do. Now, what you actually want to do is I'm going to tell you about a photography rule, and it is called the Sunny F16 rule. And what that is when it is a bright sunny day at noon with no haze in the air, which if you've ever taken a photo of the moon like this and gotten it overexposed and there's no texture in the moon, then you see the little haze around the moon. If that doesn't exist in the air, this rule is exactly perfect. Now, if you set your ISO to 100 and you set your shutter speed to 1/100th of a second, and then your aperture to f16, on a sunny day at noon, you should get the perfect exposure. I mean, it's not always 100% correct because it's really hard to tell sometimes if there's haze in the middle of the day. A lot of times you can look out in the distance and see far off objects if they have that weird white hazy thing, that weird white hazy cloud in front of them. That's the haze I'm talking about. So as long as that's not there, this rule is perfect. But the same thing applies to taking photos of the moon, since the sun's light is actually reflecting off of the moon. So if you take a photo of the moon like that, that should give you the correct exposure to see all the craters. Now, if you don't want to use an aperture of 16, which is a pretty small aperture, and you want to hand hold the camera, or you don't have a tripod and you want to up your shutter speed, what you can do is basically count your clicks. So if you put your camera on full manual mode, take it off of auto, put your aperture on 16 or f16 and your ISO at 100, and then your shutter speed at 1/100th of a second. And also this will work at other ISO speeds. You just have to make sure, if you want to shoot at 1600, just make sure that your shutter speed is 1/1600th of a second. But we're going to use ISO 100 and 1/100th of a second. So let's say that your minimum aperture on your lens is f4. What you're going to do, you're going to have 12 clicks from 16 to 4, and you'll see the number changing in your viewfinder. So if you take that 12 clicks all the way down to 4 on your aperture side, all you have to do is take the same amount of clicks on your shutter speed. That's the easiest way I can explain that for amateurs that aren't quite comfortable with shooting in manual mode. So, and actually, you would be shooting at 1/1600th of a second at f4 and ISO 100. It just kind of worked out like that. I didn't mean to do that. So if you do that, you will get the same result as this. This was shot at 1/100th of a second ISO 100, and f16. Now I modified the photo a little bit just so the craters would pop a little bit more in Lightroom, but this is what you can expect if you follow this rule. If you don't, and you just point your camera at the moon and you take a photo on auto, this is more of what you're going to get. But if you follow this rule, you should be getting better pictures of the moon. Again, quick tutorial. There's not a whole lot to this rule, so happy shooting. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell me if this rule worked for you. Thank you for watching.